Is there anything different with the agenda?
We just needed to bring to your attention, there was one report that we missed uploading in our haste to get it out a day early last week. So with respect to the building bylaw that is on the agenda tonight, there was a report to support that. So you will see that on the agenda.
Okay, mover for the agenda. Councillor Hallahan, Councillor Knott. All in favor? Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest, if any.
This is just for the planning and environment.
This is the actual council meeting.
So I do.
The planning advisory will be 5.1
Okay, okay.
in the council, and we will have to recess to do it and then come back.
6.11. I will stay away from the table.
Okay,
Do you just mind, Deputy, refilling the form that's in your drawer out? There is a form in your drawer to declare your.
There's a form in my drawer.
Form.
yes.
I'm almost afraid to look in here. Why'd you put those in?
Don't know.
My drawer.
Okay, asking for if there's any disclosures of pecuniary interest other than Deputy Reeve. None noted. Moving to the consent agenda. Okay, that 4.11, adopting the minutes of August 22nd. Oh, okay. All, unless somebody wants to pick one out, it will be all the consent agenda items in 4.1. The three of them. Trevor moves.
I just want to comment on one brief 4.3.1.
Same here.
Other than that, it's just a comment. I just want to talk about that.
Yeah.
So I think we have to.
I'll take a seconder first. Yolanda. Okay, Trevor first.
Yeah, in reading John Rutledge's correspondence to council, I think we do need to be very clear going forward as opposed to who we're using when we use the term local and what, because it is an issue when businesses or services within that same catchment area get pigeonholed in that same thing, thinking that they're a part of doing that business, and then therefore people believe that they may be too busy and don't go to that service. Now, John's stating that's not the whole reason why he's slow at this time, and I understand that. But in the same breath, we as a municipality could help with that by being more clear, unless the developer or the architect chooses not to want to be named. But then we got to ask ourselves why they don't want to be named when they're going to be doing the work for the municipality. So I guess the question ultimately becomes, it's got to be a give and a take. But ultimately, from ratepayers within the municipality, I think he's made a valid point in my mind about not being pigeonholed into being a local architect or a local service, and therefore being people maybe believing that he's doing something that he's not. So I think it's great that he brought to our attention that part, and hopefully in the future we can help alleviate some of that issue later if there is anything that we can do.
Suggestion such as the municipality drafting a letter to those other developers or developments that be careful how you do press releases, that rather than just saying local architect, it would be best to name them. And just following up on basically what John has said, is that your meaning, Trevor?
That's what I'm hoping to get out of this.
Brock?
I thought the whole thing referred to our minutes and our press releases and so on. And I don't see any reason why the architect could not be named whenever there's a reference to an architect who is working on any of our projects.
Do you want to speak, Pat? Or?
Well, I was just gonna say, I don't think it's a matter of us submitting the name, it's what the media picks up and how much they write, but absolutely, we'll take that into consideration in the future. It's also my understanding that the one developer that he talks about in the letter was also contacted and is taking that into consideration going forward as well. So everybody's taking it in under advisement and definitely making sure that we include it in our information going forward.
Okay. That's taken care of then. Any other points? All in favor? Okay, we will temporarily adjourn the meeting to move to 5.1, the planning advisory. Okay. Councillor Syfe, Councillor Mott, all in favor? Carried. Okay. Do you want to speak, Laura?
Sure, thank you. Okay, thank you, Reeve. Good evening, Council. So I'll make a summary of my report for this application. This is an application by Frog Stream Holdings Limited for Part Lot 30 Concession 11 with the 911 address of 85769B Croft Line. This application proposes to change the zoning on a portion of the subject property to agricultural small holding, AG special zone, AG4-10, from its current zone of natural environment limited protection, NE2. The subject lands require a zone change to permit a proposed residential dwelling, and this application is a condition of the severance file B68 2015, which was recommended for approval by council earlier this year. The severance condition stated that the rezoning must include provisions within it to satisfy the Maitland Valley Conservation Authority and the Environmental Stewardship Coordinator. Therefore, the AG4 special zone has been written to include a 20-meter setback from the existing NE2 boundary zone to create a buffer for the natural environment features that are currently present on the property for the proposed development and satisfy the approval, satisfy the consent approval condition. Currently, the entire subject property is designated natural environment and agriculture in the North Huron official plan, but the portion of the property subject to rezoning is just designated agriculture. This application is proposing to permit a residence on agricultural designated land without it being accessory to a farming operation. And section 4.3.4 of the North Huron official plan clarifies that non-agricultural development shall be directed to be located in the settlement areas rather out in prime agricultural areas. The provincial policy statement prohibits the creation of new residential lots in prime agricultural areas unless they are residents surplus to a farming operation. And this application proposes a use not permitted in the provincial policy statement. For the severance to create the vacant residential lot that was recommended for approval by council, this property must be rezoned to permit the proposed residential dwelling. No concerns were received when the site plan and proposed rezoning were circulated to staff, Maitland Valley Conservation Authority, or the health unit. There was one public comment received during the commenting period. A neighboring landowner, Jeffrey Wall, inquired a bit more information about the rezoning, specifically asking for clarifications on the maps that were mailed to him. So I emailed further details, and upon receiving them, he stated he had no concerns or issues with the proposed rezoning and had no needs that needed to be addressed in any further conditions or clarifications. So because of its non-compliance and inconsistency with the provincial policy statement and North Huron official plan, I am recommending denial for this. But for the severance to move forward to its clearance, this would need to be approved by council.
Okay. One of the following that we have to approve, defer, or deny. A, B, or C. Do I have a motion? Brock?
I move that we approve it.
Deputy Campbell. So is there any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you.
Carried. Okay. Motion to adjourn the planning advisory, Callahan and Vaughan. All in favor? Carried. Motion to reconvene. Motion to reconvene the council meeting, site, and Ritzmith and Inga. All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving to 6.1.1, consent application.
There is the resolution of the necessary motion under section 3417. Is that anything else? That's relating to the zoning amendment. It's a motion that has to be passed in the regular council meeting. I'm not sure what that is.
Okay. That the council of the Township of North Huron hereby accept the record. Well, it's.
Did we adjourn the planning advisory? Yes.
Yes, we did. Okay, that the council of the Township of North Huron hereby accept the recommendation of the Planning Advisory Committee, that the zoning bylaw amendment as it applies to Part Lot 30, Concession 11, as our registered plan 22R4466 Part 3 with right-of-way East Wawanosh Ward, Township of North Huron, 85769 Beecroft Line, owner and applicant Frog Stream Holdings Limited. Do we have a mover for that? That's Mataninga and site. All in favor? Carried. And resolution regarding further notice pursuant to section 34, bracket 17 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990. Whereas the council of the corporation of the Township of North Huron has held a public meeting pursuant to section 34, brackets 12 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, with respect to a proposed zoning bylaw. And whereas certain changes have been made to the proposed bylaw after holding of the public meeting. Now therefore, the council of the corporation of the Township of North Huron hereby resolves that pursuant to section 3417 of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, no further notice is to be given in respect of the proposed bylaw. Do I have a mover? Wadden and Knott. All in favor? Carried. That's got it.
Yes, so
Thank you.
just to clarify that motion, section 3417 of the Planning Act gives council the authority to pass a bylaw that was issued under the Planning Act if it's been slightly amended from when it was circulated. So this particular bylaw was circulated earlier in the summer as just an AG4 zone. And since then, to ensure that there was conformity with the severance condition, it was modified to the AG410 to make that setback and satisfy the MVCA and the stewardship coordinator. So just to clarify what that motion was for. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Move to Bruce County Child Care.
This one.
Okay, the 6.11, it's a severance application for Lois and Robert Sinclair. As council, is there a mover? Councillor Hallahan, Councillor Knott. It's fairly straightforward as surplus farm. Any discussion?
That's with conditions attached.
Yeah.
Yes.
All in favor then? Carried. And resolution of the Council of the Township of North Huron hereby approves Bruce County Child Care Fee Subsidy Schedule effective September 1st, 2016. And further, the clerk is directed to prepare a bylaw to adopt the County of Bruce Child Care Fee Subsidy rates. Do I have a mover? Councillor Knott, Deputy Reeve Campbell. All in favor? Carried. Okay, that procedures for town hall meeting. The Council of the Township of North Huron hereby approves the procedure for town hall public meetings as presented by the clerk. Do I have a mover? Councillor Knott, Councillor Syke. Discussion, go ahead.
At what, just so I can make sure I'm clear, about at what point does the motion to extend it an hour need to happen? Does it need to happen before or during or after, when the hour comes to fruition, or I just want to make sure that we're clear.
When you come up to the time limit or the hour.
Because are we as counselors going to have some kind of indication of what's going to be discussed at the meeting? Like, is that, like, I know there's suggestions for an agenda or talks for the discussion, but understanding what those discussion points might be, we may know that it's going to be longer than an hour before the meeting even starts. So I think I would like to make sure that that's.
The procedure is to do that motion close to the time that would be the limiting factor, so it can be done before the limiting factor. Sure.
It would be similar to if your procedural bylaw had a limit to your meetings where all meetings have to adjourn by 11 p.m., which you see frequently. So as you're approaching that hour, there would be a motion of council required to extend past that limit. So it would be a very similar process here. If you see that the meeting is still viable and people are there wanting to present, as you're approaching your deadline, you could just pass that motion to extend the time limit. we don't know how many people are going to show up. We hope that we will have some good attendance. But we have seen public meetings where we have 2 people show up and they leave halfway through our meeting and we're left by ourselves. So, we've stated that we will be there and available for an hour. And if we can adjourn at the hour time limit, we will. If we need more time, we'll take it.
Any other comments or questions? Yolanda?
So, just to follow up what Trevor said, will we have some idea as to what's being discussed, or will it just kind of be whatever is brought up at the moment of the meeting? Just so that we have like some background and research if needed.
It may be both.
Because the idea of this meeting is to allow public feedback to council, we've sort of created some broad guidelines there as to what might be discussed. So it's suggestions from the public on new programs, things that they may want, new initiatives that they may want to see council undertake. If it's specific complaints or service requests or something like that, we're going to request that they follow through the regular municipal process for those where we can address those. But we really can't anticipate because it's a direct link from the public to council as to what issues and initiatives might come up. We just will have to clearly state at the beginning of the meeting, since it is an unknown, that we may not be able to provide information and feedback. It may have to be referred to staff to report back or to provide follow-up to the individual. And that's just the nature of having a public meeting where you don't have a set agenda.
Okay. Councillor Knott.
I just have one comment that it might be a bit of an issue with the declaration of pecuniary interest if we don't know what topics are going to be discussed. How we're going to deal with
that may have to be on the fly.
That's what I was going to say, that I think we'll have to do it as each topic comes up.
I would suggest it's a meeting where you're not going to be making substantial decisions about, and taking actions. I think you're there just for public feedback. So I think that's only going to be an issue if council is going to make a decision to move forward with a service or initiative. And I would expect that you'd want more input and feedback from staff before making those types of decisions.
Should we even have it in there then? It's kind of a moot point if you don't know what's going to be discussed. So
it doesn't hurt if a counselor.
It's form procedure.
I think it should be there, but if there was an issue that came up that you felt you would be in conflict, it gives you the opportunity to declare. Typically it's at the beginning of the meeting or as it arises.
yeah, I think perhaps we should change the declaration if required as it arises or something to that effect, just to cover that.
That's a fair point.
Councillor Saint.
Yeah, and I think from a standpoint is if the question is asked and the counselor believes that he may have a pecuniary interest at that point,
Yeah.
then just note it at that point. Before the discussion ever begins, because there could be some discussion that happens that person shouldn't be a part of just for that purpose. So, I think just to save us all is once the question is posed, maybe a couple of minutes just to make sure that we all understand what's the request, and then decide if we're okay to move forward. I would not want any of our counselors to get kind of caught off guard and then not understand their interest, and then at the end we get caught in something else. So it's one of those things where we don't know what's coming. So let's give a little break between the question and decide whether those counselors have pecuniary interest. If not,
And that'll be dependent on the question.
Yep.
To Councillor Vaughn.
I think there may very well be issues that come up that we don't agree on as a council, and we're not going to make any decisions at meeting as to which is the right answer, or which is the right explanation. So I don't see that there's any problem with the declaration.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Moving to 6.14, agreement for mural. Do you want me to read that, or council's already read it? Do I have a mover? Councilor Ritzman Tenenga, Councilor Knott. Discussion? Councilor
I just
Ritzman?
want to say I've seen a picture of the mural that will be going up, and it's similar to what is already there. It's just kind of on aluminum so that it doesn't rust. It's very nice. It has much longer longevity and weatherproofing.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Okay, moving to 6.3.1, recreation software. It's fairly well written. Is there anything you want to add now, or just wait on questions, Pat?
I think both Richard and myself are here. We co-authored the report and are prepared to answer any questions. We have taken a long time to come to this decision. I think at first the hasty decision was to move immediately to ActiveNet and just roll over to the new program. But I think we were pleased with taking our time and researching more options, and have come to a decision that the departments, both the IT department and us as users of the program, are going to be very satisfied with, and hopefully the public as well.
Councilor Watt,
I have a question. Oh, sorry.
go ahead.
I have a question about in your dealing with the Legend company, did you find a lot of latitude? That is, did you have to make decisions in terms of how the center is operated in order to accommodate their conditions? Or is it a very flexible and adaptable sort of program?
I would say that it's a very adaptable and flexible program, and that's what we were looking for when we were looking at functionality, to make sure that how we operate, it will accommodate. I believe that it has some improvements in the way that we will operate, and it offers those. But for example, the access, ability to access the different doors, some softwares only offer one way to do that. This software program, and correct me if I say it incorrectly, offers us two options at the door. So you can both have the biometrics and the fingers and the card scanning. So we really like that, and that is an example of how flexible this program is. So we're very pleased with it.
Councilor Singh.
So the one question I have, and it kind of follows up to Councillor Vodden's question, is that sometimes when we buy software, we get pigeonholed in the process of our process is the only process we're going to do. No matter what, we're going to bastardize the software to make our system work.
Right.
Is that something that has been looked at in this process of developing this Legend program? Meaning, are we looking at our processes to ensure that we're not doing just that? We're not bastardizing our processes to circumvent what we think is the right way, but a software could be doing it a different way, but we just don't like it because that's the way it works. So I guess my question is are we bastardizing this software because of our processes, or are we letting the software do its job? Was process looked at?
Yeah, so we started with what do we want the software to be able to do? And then we looked at the different 7 options of software. Absolutely, we do certain things now that are going to have to change, and that's because the software does it this way. So when we're talking about how it speaks to finance and how it reads the GL accounts, and I'm going to let Richard talk to those questions because that's really the intricacies of the software. When myself and my staff looked at it, we looked at how do we want our public to interface, and how do we want to run our programs so that we're not bastardizing how we do everything today. We felt that Legend definitely met us right in the middle, and we were able to where this is how we do it. That's okay, because we can change that. But where we do not want to make a change on, they were very flexible to say, well, that's easy. We can just fix it this way, and you'll run it. I don't know if you want to talk about the programs.
Yeah, I think that's a good description. So one example that I may have for you, Trevor, is with the GL reports that have to come out of the software to go into our Keystone system. Keystone's pretty proprietary, and there isn't an direct interface from one to the other. Other kinds of software may have that, but that's a limitation on Keystone's side. So we are doing workarounds to make that happen by creating custom reports and exporting them that way, but that's not a downfall of Legend by any means.
Go ahead.
My other question was a payback. You talk about payback in here, but I didn't really get the sense of what the payback was. Is it a year, 6 months, 2 years, 6 years? What is that payback calculation?
We didn't want to calculate it at this stage because it's sort of a bit of an unknown, but we will be tracking that. I believe that it will take us a full year of operating before we see the reduction in staff time to administer registrations and such. So if we use the Saugeen Shores example, they switched, they never had class, they went right to ActiveNet a couple of years ago. And so they put in an online type registration program similar to Legend, but a different brand. And what they found was they used to have these open houses, and that was the only way you could register for anything. Swimming lessons, you have to show up to the community center on this night and have a line up out the door, and that's how you register for programs at Saugeen Shores. So the first year they switched over to the software, they had over 50%. By the second year, the only way you could register was online. So it took them a full year to sort of get the customers adapted to using it, and we feel we'll have that same timeline until we really start seeing people understanding that they don't need to call us anymore, that they can just look it up online and register their kids for swimming lessons. But we expect that first year to be a transition, so we will not probably see a lot of payback until the second year. I'm not sure if that answers your question, but where we see opportunity is right now we're registering heavy for our fall programs. That phone is on the call all the time. There's someone at that front desk all the time registering, signing people up. So we hope that that will reduce and people will be more online. And then we expanded our hours a couple of years ago to catch 8:30 at night and Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And we're wondering if we need that wide service window at our registration counter once we start to get this. So we'll start to see maybe those hours claw back. And also time as we roll into some of the other things we have as goals and objectives in the administration department, our staff being able to support things like file management and some of the other things that are bigger projects that we're going to be able to dedicate our time to. But we will be tracking it.
So I guess my comment to that would be I would like a follow-up, or at least some kind of follow-up about what the payback would be after the said and done, because I think it's important for ratepayers to know that if we're implementing new programs, it's not just to make their lives hell. It's just, excuse my language, but that's ultimately what people think.
Yeah.
The perception out there. So the fact is that we're being efficient with their tax dollars, and I think knowing that for capital projects is important to know what the payback for ratepayers would be on that program.
One thing that both Richard and I can share with you is that it has an excellent reporting capacity, which we don't have in class right now. So we'll be able to draw data, how many registered this way, how many registered that way. Questions you've asked me before, how do people find out about things? We're going to be able to do a lot more marketing and direct marketing, things that are going to be not as measurable as, the staff hours, but hopefully we'll see an uptake in certain programs. And we're definitely going to track all that. There's so many other factors that can change registration rates, uptake on programs, utilization, but we feel this will be a strong push in the next couple of years, and we'll definitely be tracking that, and we'll have a better machine and tool to do that with. Oh, sorry, Richard wanted to add to that answer.
Sorry, yeah, I was just going to say that the return is definitely a part of it that we want to look at, but this will without a doubt enhance the service that we're providing. So allowing people to check their accounts online, register for things online, those are all great enhancements that people want today, right? So that's also an important factor. It's not necessarily savings, but it's an enhancement to the public that they're asking for.
I just wanted to say I'm really excited about this. I think it's a great step forward. But my one question is, what about those who do not have internet access? And how are we going to help them through this process over the next year? Because there are people in our area who don't have that and who don't want to have it either.
So I think that's where we don't want to immediately jump to, we only take online registration. We are going to take this one step at a time, recognizing that a lot of our clients still come in and pay by check for the whole year upfront for their membership. They have no interest in paying online, paying through their bank account, using their MasterCards. And we will always have our customer service desk available for that assistance. Also, we believe that we'll have a transition when everybody's opening up their account online. We're not sure if that's going to be a kiosk or something like that, where we can actually walk through people on how to get signed up even before we go live. So we might have for a month at the rec center, come on down, we'll get you signed up. We'll walk you through this so that the day we go live, your account is ready to go. Richard's looking at different ways that we can interface with that.
Perfect.
Okay, do we have a mover? Yolanda,
I thought it was
I
moved
think
on.
it was already due.
No?
it wasn't written down. So that I have Councillor Ritzman-Tenenga and Councillor Vaughn. So any further discussion? All in favor? Carried. 6.3.2, temporary road closure of the alley west of Blythe Memorial Hall between Drummond and Dinsley in the town of Blythe for the renovation work at Blythe Memorial Community Hall. Councillor Knott moves, Councillor Syke seconds. Any discussion? Go ahead.
What about the back of the post office? Is that part of the road closed or is it further than that?
So on the map,
Well, it is.
yeah, it was a tough one to draw. So the black area is showing, and there's some shadowing, so it makes it difficult. But from the north, people will still be able to access into the alleyway all the way through the parking lot of the post office.
Okay.
And then a little bit further south so that one property can access behind as well. And then from the south, there will be access to the back of Memorial Hall. And the drawing doesn't show this now, but we've met with the two landowners, and the landowner to the south actually needs access to that one shed that appears white on the drawing. So we have adjusted that after we've met with both of those neighbors. So we don't want to block anybody in or out of their sheds. So we're going to make sure that that is all accommodated for in the temporary road closure.
Anything else? All in favor? Carried. Moving to 6.4.1, the Wingham Well, number 4. And I think it's fairly well explained. If there's any questions, do you have a mover? Councillor Knott, Councillor Hallahan. Is there any questions? Councillor Syke?
Jeff, what would have been the cost to fix that generator?
The cost to fix the generator wasn't fully reported from Veolia. The direction we got from them as well as an electrician was that if we continued on with just fixing it, we would be doing it on a continual basis, which hard to estimate on a year-to-year basis, but it seemed to be more and more things kept going on with it. So at that point, we didn't pursue getting a cost to fix. We just pursued the cost to replace.
So Jeff, was there documentation of the fact that we've had issues with this generator before, or is this just something that's come up?
This appeared to be something that just came up. I wouldn't say that there's historically a trail of maintenance I would say. Part of Veolia's contract will be to set that up for us so that we do have good maintenance records and we can track to see what sort of effort we are putting into maintenance of specific pieces of equipment in water and sewer. At this time, we don't have great records as far as maintenance, but that will be something that we do get going forward.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Okay, moving to 6.6.1. Do you want to take that, Sharon, or?
Yes, this is one that I apologize was missed in being uploaded into the package. It was prepared last week, but we noticed it's still sitting in the queue. So this report supports that the bylaw that you saw was included on the agenda to enter into an agreement with the Township of Howick for building department services. So this is something that has been discussed here at council before, but in light of the timing for getting this agreement moving forward and a start date of September 16th, we're requesting that council waive the provision to see the bylaw in draft one meeting prior to passing to allow us to proceed with getting this agreement in place. But it does outline the provision of services to Howick, and we're looking forward in getting that arrangement going.
So
Councillor Lawden, Councillor Syke. All in favor?
I have a question.
Oh,
I just have one question. And this would be to CAO. Is that accurate? You're estimating 90,000 per year?
That is the estimate that we have, yes, as far as revenue from that arrangement. So we will see. It's based, they've given us some permit numbers and we're estimating the amount of time. So I did confirm that figure with CAO Mickey as well prior to this meeting. So we'll see how things figure out.
And there's no problem with that number of hours being billed there that's going to put strain on our building department?
Well, as part of this building out the shared service department, our new chief building official is going to do an assessment of the staffing requirements. So we have a complement of 3 on board right now, and we don't want to do anything, make any decisions about the future staffing requirements for that department until we get Howick on board and we understand what the needs are going to be. And we also have to understand that we are in a transition phase. We are building in new processes for customer service. There's going to be a learning curve for all of our staff with the new arrangement. So it is going to take a period of time for us to do an adequate assessment of what the needs are going forward for that department.
My only concern would be the fact that if we have to bring on staff, that this contract with them only rides until December 31st, 2017. So that's my only concern. We're not going to bring somebody on in order to accommodate this contract and find out in January 1st, 2018 that we no longer need them. So
That's a fair comment. I think that we have looked at similar sized departments serving a similar population to the combined Howick, Morris Turnberry, and North Huron, and they do have a complement of 3. Again, because we don't have a long-term arrangement with Howick, that is a bit tenuous, so it's a fair point and something that we can look at going forward. Right now, we have contracts with our existing building inspectors, which are the 2 pre-existing chief building officials until the end of September, and we're going to have to look at what we do to move forward. And so you'll be seeing a recommendation come forward in very short order as to how we're going to address the staffing on maybe a midterm basis. And to allow the chief building official, who's only been on since August 15th, to do an assessment.
Thank you.
Okay. I called that carried anyway. But thank you for clarifying that. Okay. Was there anything in correspondence that anybody wanted talked about? Possibly mentioning the thank you from William Horticultural Society?
This item 7 is for correspondence requiring action. So the other correspondence was part of the consent agenda,
Yeah.
but we are not showing any correspondence requiring
Yeah.
action this evening.
Okay. Well, the Reeves activity report, I've been getting other things done. Looking forward to the Thrashers later this week, and that's about it's part of what I'm looking at. There's a fair bit of work in the East Wahonash 150 committee that Ray and I are trying to assist and get things going again, and but that's the end of my report. Council members, a report on meetings or anything? Councilor Slade?
I just wanted to give council an update on the progress of the Building Bridges Committee. They did finalize and I believe are looking at starting the track and lower field renovation this fall. To get that started, they gathered up enough fundraising to get that progress started, so that was good news. They are having another bottle drive the end of this week. I think it's on Sunday, the 10th. I think it's the 10th is Sunday, Saturday, that they are having. So both in Wingham, Wyeth and Belgrave, I believe, or Bluevale and Belgrave, I think is out in that area. So I think their volunteers are going to be coming around and gathering up that for a fundraiser. They have submitted to Aviva Insurance. Again, the progress of getting a grant from Aviva Insurance with regards to the track. So there may be some requests come forward from that group. I'm just finalizing with the group today whether the municipality, they would like municipality to use social media and that kind of stuff to get through that again. But I haven't finalized that, so I will bring that up at the next meeting. Otherwise, it's been a pretty busy for that group, and glad they're still progressing. So.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Millett?
I'd just like to ask Trevor a question. What sort of bottles are they collecting? Bottles?
They're collecting cans, and like it's from going to the liquor store or the beer store. It's like cans,
liquor and beer bottles.
Liquor and beer
That's
bottles.
Yeah, okay. So, next one, bylaws. 10.1, bylaw number 76, 2016. This is being a bylaw, pardon me, to adopt a policy to establish a procedure by which donations are made to the Living Tree. The projects can be funded using the Blythe Leaf account for the corporation of the Township of North Huron. First and second, and seconder, Deputy Reeve Cam. All in favor? Okay, and read a third time and signed by the Reeve clerk and engrossed in the bylaw book. Do I have a mover? Councillor Sype, Councillor Ritzma-Taninga,
I'd like to make a comment.
go ahead.
I'd just like to thank Patricia for a great write-up of the documentation behind this change and the very thoughtful way in which she has suggested that we'll continue to get feedback from the community and look forward to getting that input and making this living tree once again viable, because I think people have really forgotten about it, and I think this will push it forward to the people's attention. Thanks.
All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 77, 2016, being a bylaw to amend bylaw number 11, 2015 of the Township of North Huron, and to provide for raising a lesser amount than provided therein the Snell Municipal Drain 2015 improvement. Deputy Reeve Campbell, Councillor Hallahan, for first and second. All in favor? Read a third and final time, signed by the Reeve clerk and engrossed in the bylaw book. Councillor Knott, Councillor Sype, all in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 78, being a bylaw to authorize the Reeve clerk to sign a second license extension and amending agreement between the Corporation of the Township of North Huron and Her Majesty the Queen and Right of Ontario, as represented by the Minister of Infrastructure, for the use of the court facilities at 274 Josephine Street, Wyndham, Ontario. First and second, Brock,
Yes.
and Councillor Sype seconding.
Do you have a question or comment?
Go ahead.
Does this lease provide the opportunity, if the court moves for some particular reason, that it's not held in this facility, that that agreement still exists? Or do you have to go back to them to get approval for whatever reason to amend the area? I'm just concerned if we want to move things around, or in that case that we might be hindered in this agreement.
The agreement permits a 6-month out for during the 5 years. So it's my understanding it is a complicated process to move court. It's not just saying, well, we have this space, now we can go over there.
Mm-hmm.
It requires sort of many arms of the provincial government to work together to make that happen. So until that time we maybe want to move it somewhere else, or the police services feel it should go somewhere else, or the judge, this is where it would be held, in this lease. We would not amend this lease. We would likely end this lease in lieu of a new lease if it was moved to a different place on a permanent basis.
So what you're saying is we would wait the 5 years and then do another, or give them a 6-month, tell them that we want a 6-month window.
Yeah, if there's a mutual understanding between all the parties involved, that this was going to change its location, then it would just be a matter of all of the ins and outs to get out of one contract, sign a new contract. But it's not just, we can't just decide to take it over to another space without getting out of this agreement and moving to a new one. There's quite a process here. They inspect the space, they make sure it's accessible, all of those kinds of things. They would want to have all of those checks and balances if we were to use a different space. So, and it's not really initiated by us, it's initiated by another arm of the province to move it. Does that make sense? We don't have to wait the 5 years.
That was more of my comment.
Yep.
Do we have to wait the 5 years in
No.
case there's an issue? Thank you.
All in favor? Okay, read a third time and finally passed.
So moved. Oh, that was the third. Perfect.
Well,
Move on.
okay.
Yeah.
Bylaw 79, being a bylaw to amend the zoning on concession 11, part lot 30 as a registered plan 22R 4466, part 3 of with right of way, East Wallanosh Ward, Township of North Huron, Frog Stream Holdings. You're moving first and second. Bodden and Deputy Reeve Campbell. All in favor? Carried. Okay, read a third time and final time, signed by the Reeve clerk and to be engrossed in the bylaw book. Councillor Hallahan, Councillor Knott. All in favor? Carried. Bylaw number 80, 2016. Being a bylaw to authorize the Reeve clerk to execute and affix the corporate seal to an agreement for the Township of North Huron and the municipality of Morris Turnberry to provide building services to the Township of Howick. Councillor Knott, Councillor Hallahan on first and second. All in favor? Carried. And read a third and final time. Councillor,
I just have a question. How do we, I'm just wondering, how do we affix a seal to agreement within Morris Turnberry? It's adding together, right? So they have to approve it too, but how do we affix an agreement with both municipalities on it?
We each are passing this bylaw separately,
Oh,
and
okay.
then we'll all
Okay,
be authorized to.
good. No, that's good.
Okay. Okay, mover and seconder for the third reading, the Councillor Site, Deputy Reeve Campbell. All in favor? Carried. Is there any announcements? Other business? Okay, going to point 13 is a closed session. So that to go in camera, do I have a mover? Councillor Site, Councillor Hallahan. All in favor? Okay, we will have a short recess.